21. You're 20. And you decide to have your legs cut off because they've been mangled basically since birth. The guy gets his legs cut off. Incidentally, he then goes on to compete in the then goes on to become an orthopedic surgeon of world renown. He then goes on to compete in the Paralympics, and to this day he still holds 6 world records. And he's a wonderful singer. But Ronan Tynan's father said something to him that he never could forget. And that is, every morning his father said, "You are great." And when his dad died, he took this letter from his dad, "You are great." And he has it in his bathroom. And every morning he looks at it. Einstein would say, "You need to be curious because you're great." And we're all great, and our kids are great. We simply have to bring out from them that curiosity. Why? You got a kid, and it's like he or she's like 6 years old or 5 years old. I mean, it's why daddy this, and why daddy that, and why don't you ask your mom? But they have that curiosity. And that's the curiosity we have to have. My first professor of biochemistry said, "Pearse, you can go anywhere so long as you retain the curiosity of a child." So we Kentuckians need to be curious. Curious to all sorts of ideas, but yes to your focused idea, in my case, the yeast. The Chinese. Crisis. Oh my gosh. We got a crisis in Frankfurt. We got a crisis in Kentucky, and the universities are not getting enough money, and so on and so forth. And Louisville was beaten by UK, and it's a crisis. Wasn't for UK. But the Chinese have a way of putting crisis. They write one word, but it's actually 2 words. And one word says danger, and the other word says opportunity. We prefer to look at the opportunity. And so long as the rest of us are focusing on the danger, thank you very much, we'll take the opportunity. So let's think of the opportunities. Where can we go? The Great Wall, no, the Great Call of China. Go early, go where others don't, do what others don't. I went there over 20 years ago. And somebody said, "How did you get there?" And I wasn't being flippant. I said, "I went on a plane." And they said, "Where'd you get the intro?" I said, "I met a guy at a conference like this." And he said, "Pearse, you ever been to China?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, let me send you an invitation." It was the university professor. And so he sent me the invitation. And Michael, he waited for me at the airport. It was a Tuesday. In case I came early, he was there for the previous 2 Tuesdays. Scout's honor. And then he brought me to the hotel, but the hotel didn't have my reservation. And I said, "Well, go to another hotel." He said, "This is the first hotel I've ever been in." And so we went from hotel, from front, some here. And 15, 20 places later, I found myself in this place. But my point is, I went to China. And my point is, you need to go to China, not on a delegation, go on your own. And you will find what opportunities. Amazing. And we're there now. My son is there, and my nephew is there. They're not there as visitors, incidentally. They're there. My son is learning Mandarin. At least I think he's learning Mandarin. At least we're paying for him to learn Mandarin. But Mark already speaks with a Kentucky education background, which incidentally means he has a PhD, which incidentally means he speaks fluent Portuguese, which incidentally means he speaks fluent German, and incidentally he speaks fluent Spanish, and his French is not so bad. And that's not too bad as an endorsement for Kentucky education, is it? And he's there, and we expect our business to grow and grow. And he tells us this. He said, the things you must do in China are the things you must do elsewhere. The things you do in China are the things you do elsewhere. So what should you do? You must have clarity. And you must build on relationships. People buy from people. The Chinese in particular like clarity. And you must get to the decision maker. China. The boss, the leader, must be involved. There's no point in sending the second leader or the third leader. The boss has to go there. And when the boss goes there, he must go with his or her own technology, their own management style, must have good people. That's the rules for China. It's always been the rules for China. It's the rules for Slovakia. It's the rules for Ireland. They're the rules. Incidentally, the don'ts don't go hit and run. You go for the long term, 20 years. Don't fall for hit and run and don't think it's easy, because it ain't easy. And that's the beautiful thing. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody else would do it. So you go in early, you follow those rules, and you make things happen. Success, you define it. For me, success will be doing 250 million in 2 years. And I talk to my son, our son, every single morning. On the way into work, I talk to him. It's 12 hours change. And his target and our target, if we're going to hit 4 billion, he has to give me 250 million. And he will. And he has a fantastic team there. And his team are all Chinese. One or two Caucasians. One young man, incidentally, worked for the state in Kentucky. David Snowgrass. And David has now joined us. He's married to a Chinese girl. And we're driving the business forward. Amazing opportunities. How many of you have been to China? How many of you can rattle off 15 American cities? We all can, right? How many can rattle off 10 Chinese cities? They have 20 cities with a population greater individually than the state of Kentucky. Think about it. We are like 4.2, 4.3. There's 20 plus cities who've got 5 million people. And they love Kentucky. And one of the reasons they love Kentucky is that we have these global links. And when you go there, we have our brand assets. Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now go figure this. Go figure this. KFC is pronounced in Chinese as Kentucky. Now I didn't make that up. That's not Irish blarney. KFC is Kentucky. Is the good Lord not telling us, get on your you-know-what and go? And Yum Brands make more profit in China than they do in the rest of Yum Brands. And when you go to Kentucky Fried Chicken over there, it's totally different to the Kentucky Fried Chicken here. And Kentucky Fried Chicken over there signifies safety. Because they're paranoid, these 1.3 billion people, with safety. And KFC, Kentucky, signifies safety. And they love the Kentucky Derby, the fastest, what is it, the most exciting 2 minutes in sport. They love it. They like horses. And Tianjin, where we are, is where they propose to possibly have the 2018 World Equestrian Games. And because of your success, not my success, with the World Equestrian Games, brought $400 million into the state of Kentucky. And because of your success, the French government said, we will put 100 million in to make the Games in 2014 in Normandy a success. And based on that, the Chinese said, we're going to build a horse park. And we're going to make it look like our horse park, your horse park. I'm going to make sure our games, your games, come to China in 2014. What? In 2018. What an opportunity. And we have basketball. Coach Calipari is going to bring a team across to China because he wants to, please do not tell Coach Pitino. Because he wants to go out there and get some more players. But they love basketball. I mean, you bring a Kentucky shirt, you bring a Louisville shirt, you are king. They love it. It's their number one sport. And we're the number one state. In basketball, eat your heart out, Indiana. It's us. They like the bluegrass. So opportunities start right here. So let's act. How do we get to 4 billion? How do you get there? What are the lessons for Kentucky? First of all, opportunity is everywhere. Opportunity is everywhere. You just have to open your ears or open your eyes and clean those ears. Our structure is here. We'll be in Springfield, in Winchester, or whether it be bringing our two incredible medical schools together. There was one man, a hero, as far as I'm concerned, and he certainly was to me, although I never really got to know him that well. And his name was Professor Marksbury from the University of Kentucky. And he ran what was called the Saunders-Brown Institute on Aging. Saunders as in Colonel Saunders. Brown as in John Y. Brown's dad. Because both of them probably suffered from that disease. And so they built this institute, the #1 in the world. And when we went to see him, we started talking about aging. And he reminded us that by the year 2050, it'll be a $1.1 trillion market. Ask yourself, do you know anybody whose parents died of Alzheimer's? It's horrible. Do you know how much money they had to spend, the social costs of Alzheimer's? It's horrible. So what can we do? Well, we went to a scientist, and scientists are never about money, they're about ideas. And so we went there, we made this relationship, and he said, I am fascinated by one of your compounds, Marksbury did. And he gave us these rats, and these rats are knockout rats, and they're mice, and they get Alzheimer's very quickly. And if you look on the right-hand side, B, you will see a typical brain from these rats, and if you look on the left-hand side, you see those little holes. They're called plaques and tangles. But look what happened on the right-hand side. And Professor Marksbury said, you know what? In my 40 years as a scientist, I've never seen anything like this. And so together with the University of Kentucky, we are now, with that compound, completed phase 1, we're going into phase 2, and who knows what the potential is, but it could revolutionize Alzheimer's and could bring untold millions into the state of Kentucky, and it's all due to being curious about the gene chip. Who knows how much it's worth? But we have to support these things. And to support them, we need a string of young people coming in. Enthusiastic, excited young people. And so we have a young scientist program. Last year we had 7,800 young scientists from around the world, went online, gave us our essay, and incidentally that cost us $25,000. Not exactly expensive. And out of that, they got a certificate, and then 2 or 3, of course, became the winners. We have a PhD program. I told you about the PhDs, be it Louisville, be it Kentucky, be it all around the world, and the graduate program. We are setting up an Alltech Academy, where we can train our young people to go out, be it in languages, or be it on 1 or 2 disciplines that we need, or simply be it in passion to get things happen. Creating that international stream of graduates. God helps those who help themselves. So you've got to make it happen, and you don't look to somebody else to make it happen. It's a walk in the park. And it's a wonderful walk in the park as we move forward. And as we move forward, we're curious. And as we're curious, we'll follow our dream, and we'll allow young people to follow their dream. As we follow that dream, we remember what brought us to Kentucky. And we remember what we built in Kentucky, and we remember what Kentucky can do for us, each and every one of you. And ask yourself, today is Monday, write down what you are going to do tomorrow. What are you going to try and achieve tomorrow? Glenn used to be part of our team. And Glenn will tell you that every morning at 5 o'clock you got a what? A 1 minute? A 1 minute charge. Now I have to say it never said you were wonderful, did it? But it said you were great. But he got a 1 minute charge from me, as do all my people. The things to do today. So my question to you for tomorrow is, what are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do for Kentucky tomorrow? What are you going to do to overcome all this gridlock that we seem to like to generate? What are you going to do tomorrow? Where will tomorrow take you? This guy comes to see me from time to time. And And when he came to see me, and when he comes to see me, he said, Pearse, enough. He said, you give me a headache. Too many ideas. You give me a headache. So what I hope this afternoon is I've given you a headache. A headache. And as I've given you a headache, remember, stay curious. At our symposium, some 3,000 people came in from all over the world. They came because they were curious about Kentucky. And they were curious about what we had done and how we had done it. And we showed them a video. And the video was about Tom on the right-hand side and Anya on the left-hand side. And Tom and Anya were two little 4-year-olds growing up in different parts of the world. And Tom and Anya have the same ambitions that our children do. And this little video set the scene. The future of Tom and Anya is the future of Kentucky. It's about doing things. And so I thank you for the opportunity of talking to you this afternoon, and I apologize. For being passionate, for being enthusiastic, and for listening to these two little kids who want a better future. Let's listen and watch Tom and Anya.
This is Tom and his twin sister, Anya. Born 5 minutes and 12,000 miles apart, they have their dad's nose and their mum's piercing blue eyes. And although they do not know it yet, in common with the other 7 billion people in the world, they have the inbuilt ambition to achieve more for their children than their parents did for them. 7 billion is a really big number. If Tom started counting to 7 billion now, assuming he could, his great-grandchild would be 80 before he was finished. Tom and Anya are born into a world of opportunity. They are 2 of 219,000 new children born yesterday, all of whom will want to be fed. 219,000 extra mouths is a big number to feed every night. New York is a big city. 219,000 extra mouths is the equivalent of a new New York every 10 weeks. To feed 1 extra New York this year, we're going to need a lot of eggs. 2,538,624,126 of them. That's enough eggs to stretch around the world 4 times. And we're going to need enough extra beef cattle to stretch to the space station and back 3 times. Tom and Anya and their cousins will need a lot of extra pigs too. Enough to stretch along the entire length of the Great Wall of China every 10 weeks. That's 5,500 miles of pigs. At the same time, they'll need enough milk to keep Niagara Falls flowing for 2 hours. And they'll need 59,022 tons of fish. To provide that many fish would require a fish pond twice the size of Manhattan. All this extra livestock will have to be fed. They're currently being fed with grain. But that's the same grain we want to eat too. If we're feeding all these extra livestock on grain, and at the same time diverting 120 million tons of corn annually from food to fuel production, this will have a dramatic upward effect on the price of grain. Meanwhile, Anya and her cousins are expecting more than just a diet of rice and grain. Their economy is expanding rapidly, and they expect only the best. They want the nutritional and other benefits of eating eggs, burgers, bacon, chicken and fish, just like you do. In fact, the whole world is looking for more, and they're looking to you to provide the solution. This is our challenge, and this is your huge opportunity. As they grow, Tom and Anya will depend on you to feed them and their 219,000 new cousins born every day, and to bridge the nutritional gap that currently exists between them. Tom and Anya and all their cousins are not just statistics. They are real people. And they're looking to you to step up and deliver real solutions. The question is not, what can we do? The question is, what will you do?
So with that, I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for letting us share with you a little bit of our dream, and hopefully our dream and Kentucky's dream will run along parallel, as indeed they have for the last 30 years. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.